going on, everybody? It is Friday night, October 9th, 2020. I am back. This is the Don Tony Show. I am Don Tony as always. Much love to everyone out there. Yes, I actually drove to the parents' house today, took it out of storage. It's a little tight. I haven't worn this since the 80s, but had to pay a little tribute to Eddie Van Halen, who died this week at 65 years old. Some people call him the greatest guitarist of all time. I put him and Jimi Hendrix 1-2. Phenomenal performer. Hey, the life that guy lived. We had such a wonderful conversation about him the other day, and even yours truly, a lot of musical memories of Van Halen as a kid. It's sad, but hey, man, 65 years old, a little bit younger than you would expect, but, when you look back at the partying and the career this guy had, something tells me probably... The only thing he probably would have changed is the fact that he had to battle cancer for 20 years. So, God rest his soul. Rest in peace, Eddie Van Halen. So, wearing the shirt tonight to pay a little tribute. I'm not going to lie, it kind of a little stinky. It smells like it's been in storage for 20 some odd years. But it's clean. I ran it through the washing machine, and we're going to have a fun show tonight. Now, as I explained on the last couple of shows, we're starting to tighten the ship a little bit as far as the organization of each show. Monday is Breakfast Soup Raw. It's fitting in nicely. Mish and yours truly doing Raw recap, talking WWE news and anything major that breaks from over the weekend. Wednesday Night Dynamite is mainly your AEW, NXT recaps. Couple other tidbits of wrestling news that has nothing to do with Raw or SmackDown. And then tonight, we do SmackDown. We do the quarter-hour ratings for NXT and AEW, and I have them tonight. And it's very interesting, very interesting. People out there saying, oh, the presidential debate, the playoffs, it hurt big time AEW's numbers and NXT. No. When we get into it, you'll see what I'm talking about. Let's just say for the Cody haters out there, they probably will not like what I get into a little bit later. And I'm not even, like the biggest Cody fan out there, but you got to give the guy credit where credit's due. And something that I have been saying on this show for about 2 months now. I know some people, it goes in one ear and out the other. Some other people don't even pay attention, like they hear what I say, but they don't listen. Brodie Lee popping those numbers on AEW. You may not like what they've done with the Dark Order. You may feel that Brodie Lee is not being used, or maybe you just don't like the guy. Fact of the matter is, he is probably popping the most consistent numbers in AEW as far as ratings go. If you listen every week, then you know what I'm talking about. If you don't, or if you think that I'm making it up, do some research, and you'll be very surprised. Now, I did my research on how I could present this tonight, and unfortunately, I can't actually take the product, but I can explain to you and defend. Let's open up with this. I know we just had the draft, and you know what? Thank you to everybody who, will at least give a little bit of appreciation or acknowledgement because, even though there's been a little controversy about shows changing on Mondays with yours truly and others, for the past 2 months, 43 pay-per-view matches straight, I am 41-2. And over the last 2.5 weeks, Mish and I across 4 different podcasts have been talking about predictions and what we would like to see as far as Raw stars going to SmackDown and vice versa. And tonight's draft, so far, every switch has been exactly what we have said. The only thing that we didn't say was that the New Day were going to be tag champs going to Raw. We'll talk about that a little bit later. I got a few comments to say about that. If you've been watching me for a year now, well, 8 months to be exact, you know, what have I said about the New Day and the Usos when it comes to WWE and SmackDown? You know, they are, you know, that's who they fall back on. It's like the four, remember I compared the Usos and the New Day to the Four Horsewomen? You know, when in doubt, when the division is a little bit shangada, you put the belts back on who you feel you can trust the most. And sure enough, the New Day, they're back, and boom, tag champs once again. I think they're only one reign behind the Dudleys of the most reigns of all time. Now, I'm not saying that I don't like the New Day. Xavier Woods, Kofi, you know, future Hall of Famers. They're on the right path. But, you know, basically, I hate to say it, in my opinion, you know, SmackDown, Fox, mega $1 million deal. You know, they got to try to get as many viewers as possible, you know, especially with what they want to do with Roman Reigns. It's a little bit of a catch-22 because you want those kids to still buy the shirts and be fans, and they need somebody like a role model. So with the New Day coming back, they could probably expand a little bit further with Roman Reigns. But as far as Cesaro and Nakamura goes, to me tonight, basically WWE went to them and went, just spit right in their faces. You know, just felt like they were, didn't it feel like they were placeholders for somebody? And by the way, Otis and Tucker, you know, when we get into the actual draft, they were advertised as heavy machinery. How come Otis was drafted by himself? What happens to Tucker? The New Day, as Mish and I predicted, Kofi and Xavier Woods to Raw. Big E stays on SmackDown. And you know, we'll get into that a little bit. But speaking of Braun Strowman, I want to defend him about something. Now, look, there's always that tiny little slither of a chance that maybe I'm wrong here. But I know that I'm not. Because there's no way in 48 hours that I could come up with this. You see this? Super B-complex B12. Anybody that's been following my keto diet for the last 16 months know that I do Ultra Burn and B12 injections. There was a little bit of controversy earlier this week. Braun Strowman, you know, showing off his abs and showing off his upper body, which I think he deserves to do. He goes on Instagram and posts this picture. Just a little ab update. Guy's in phenomenal shape, all right? So where's the controversy? You see that black circle that somebody conveniently drew? Let me zoom in on that a little bit further, all right? You see over there, you see that syringe that is like white, and let's do this. Let's enlarge this. Hold on. Let's enlarge this because I'm going somewhere with this. All right. Gee, that kind of looks just like it. Gee, doesn't that look exactly the same? Gee, do you think maybe that Braun Strowman is actually telling the truth? No, people have to insist he's lying because that gets them to tweet hand jobs. All right. I'm defending Braun Strowman on this for people that don't know. When Braun Strowman posted that picture of him taking a picture of him with his abs, you know, somebody immediately saw the syringe. And Braun Strowman went online. He deleted the picture because he didn't want that controversy to stay out there because you can see how toxic the social media world is. I mean, I don't need to tell you. He says, look, I get heart palpitations when I have too much caffeine, and I take B12 shots for energy instead of caffeine. A lot of us do that. I do that with Xavier. I drink caffeine beverages. I take B12 shots, especially because the diet I'm on. If I have, you know, I have one bulletproof coffee in the morning, and then I take Ultra Burn. If I have more caffeine in a day, I'll be like this. Seriously, somebody will think I have COVID and I got the chills. Caffeine, unfortunately, makes people's heart race. So basically, and for anyone out there that thinks that maybe this is an old bottle and maybe it's just water. Now, I can't actually inject it, but anybody that knows anything about steroids, and if you think I'm making it up, you could go online. You do not use something like this just for steroids, all right? It is a totally different situation. But you see this? Isn't it weird that I have the exact same syringe as him? Isn't it weird that he tells everybody that it's a B12 shot? This is what a B12 shot is, okay? You take the needle, all right? And me, the only reason why I'm doing this is because there's actually color in it. And I'm just going to show everyone what it looks like. All right, and basically what you do is you fill up about 200 cc's approximately, and B12 shots are red. All right, Ultra Burn is clear. All right, now I'm not obviously going to inject this now, but there you go. That is a B12 shot. And what you do is you inject it in your upper thigh, and this gives you a crazy-ass amount of energy. When I go to my doctor now and I get blood work done, everything on my blood work is perfect. The only thing that my doctor says once in a while, I'm going to save this, I'll take this in the morning. But my doctor always says to me, she's like, do you take B12? And I'm like, yeah, I take B12 shots. Why? Why do you ask? She's like, your B12 is really, really high. And that's because I don't like having too much caffeine. So for everyone out there, yeah, it's Kool-Aid, right? You know what? Anybody remember the Cannonball Run? I'm kind of like revealing my age. Do you remember the doc? Remember when he, with the syringe, and he, but no, this is legit B12. Can't make this up, Anyway, so honestly, everyone, I know it gets you hits. I know you want to be controversial. I know you want attention so bad, but sometimes a story is not a story. Case in point, seriously, I'm not going to curse on this show tonight. I haven't cursed yet. Hopefully I don't curse the whole night. But if I do this instead, maybe it counts. For all of those websites, Lars Sullivan, all right, these websites, instead of just being news reporters, they need to find ways of clickbaiting so bad and get attention so bad. This guy makes his return tonight. And it was interesting because we just had that conversation last week about Lars. Said it last week. Would love to see him at Raw Underground. I still think that could happen because technically he is a free agent right now. He was added tonight to Raw's draft on Monday. But the thing is, the guy, I'm not defending what he said 10 years ago, 8 years ago, whatever it is. It was disgusting, all right? The only reason why I give him the benefit of the doubt, because I live in a country where it's not just innocent until proven guilty, but everyone deserves a chance of redemption, all right? And this guy has apologized. He's gone to sensitivity training. And even before the sensitivity training, a lot of people of color that are in WWE, even a few people who are LGBTQ, came to the guy's defense and say, look, everything I know about him, he's fine. Now, that doesn't mean that he has to mingle and socialize with every single person on the roster who is gay or is black or anything else. The point is that, you're 19 years old, 21 years old, you say dumb stuff. I have done it. Everybody in this world has done it, And as you grow older, you mature. You hopefully learn from your mistakes. You learn how insensitive some of the things you say are. And look, I don't know the guy personally, but I could tell you firsthand without getting any further to it is that the guy legitimately has changed, all right? The video and stuff like that, it is what it is. But the guy makes his return tonight, shows up on SmackDown, beats the crap out of Miz, Riddle, Jeff Hardy, and before the guy could even walk to the dressing room, and I don't care, I don't ever single out websites or podcasts anymore, if you notice, but I'm going to single one out now, because I like some of the guys behind that website. But seriously, whoever behind No DQ that decided 2 minutes after he returned to go on Twitter and say, here's a refresher, everyone, in case you didn't know about Lars Sullivan. Seriously, if I knew that I couldn't get copyright flagged for showing you my nuts right now or mooning you with my butt, seriously, kiss my ass. You know, it's very easy for people to hide behind a website that has no individual name on it because you don't know who the scumbag is that's writing this stuff behind the thing. It's very easy to go on social media and hide behind baby pictures and old pictures and tweet or say things about yourself for years and years and years where people start believing it. And if you're legit, you're legit. You're a fraud. Sooner or later, the fraud comes out. The guy's gone through hell. The guy's been bipolar. The guy's got emotional issues, depression, and others. I mean, Jesus, are we back at the formula? Hana Kimura kills herself. Oh, we got to be better. We got to get along and this and that. And you remember the formula, everyone. And look, I'm not the world's biggest Lars fan, but this guy has gone through so much emotional crap. And he makes his return, fresh start, and literally, I swear, I think I'm lying, go on Twitter, literally within 2 minutes, and it wasn't just them, but I'm singling them out because they were the first one I saw. You know, you write this stuff. Here's a refresher. No, you know what? I don't care if I go, fuck you. Fuck you. Seriously, fuck you. I know that, you know, it's not the most, I could get more hits and likes if I went along with that program, but man, you know, seriously, some of you people out there are just absolute dirtbags. Absolute dirtbags. Now, if the guy does things again in the future, I'll be right there with you, ripping this guy a new asshole. But, my God, you know, this formula, the formula I always bring up. Oh, you see all these people, my mama brought me up to not do this and do that. My dad had brought me up not to do this and not do that. And then they get caught doing it. Is your lives that miserable that you got to put other people down to make yourself feel better? That you're not so fucked up because other people? Seriously, that's what I think it is. I think some people out there, you know, and it's not just wrestling, it's politics, it's personal, this and that. I mean, do you feel better after you're done? And I'm not trying to be woke or PC or anything like that. But man, and you know what's so bad about it? And I'll keep saying this till the day I die. Do you know why so many people get away with it on social media? Because other people do the very same thing. They do the very same thing. So how are they going to be so outraged by it? You know, it's times like this. And again, I'm not the biggest Lars fan out there, but it's times like this that shows for a lot of people their true colors. They'll hide it behind jokes, and eventually it turns to the insults. That's what I have to say to that. And for everyone out there that insists that Braun Strowman is doing steroids, if he gets tested positive, if he ends up that he's busted for doing steroids, then I'll say Braun Strowman, but the guy gives you a legitimate explanation, it's not good enough. I fucking hate social media. I swear to God. I swear to God. You know, it's so toxic, and I know a lot of you out there know exactly what I'm talking about. It's sad. It's sad. But you know what? Here's the best part about it. And yes, here's where yours truly is messed up. A lot of those people that play that game, they're not doing all that great during COVID either. Some of them are going to have a big negative situation happen to them. And guess what's going to happen? Everybody say a prayer for me. Everybody say a prayer for my mama, my dada, my kitty, my doggy, my neighbor, my uncle. Why am I doing this? What am I, on a twister? Why? They're going to want everybody's attention back. And you know what? What happened to Carmella tonight? Untouchable. More like unavailable. What happened to Carmella tonight? Yeah, Sam, you're right. YouTube is a form of social media. Absolutely. But the difference here is only a moron would week after week check out my shows if they don't like me or if they think that I suck. Everybody here online chatting with me right now, we're family. We're family. And, you know, we're going to talk about SmackDown now. We're going to talk about the draft. We're going to talk about Alberto El Patron. Indicted. That guy is screwed. His wrestling career is over. Unless they form Jailhouse Wrestling Federation somewhere. JWF. Oh, no. Didn't he do the all Latin promotion? How do you say JWF in Spanish? JWF. And I don't even want to joke about it because the charges that he has against him are very serious. Now, you know, the people, the news, clickbait, oh, he could face life in jail. Later on, I'm going to give you the breakdown of what he's facing legally and the difference between second degree, first degree, and third degree. And you'll understand very quickly that Alberto El Patron is not getting life in jail. And I'm not trying to minimize what he did. That guy is going to be in jail for many years. But for these people trying to give you the thought that he could face life in prison, yeah, and if my aunt had balls, she'd be my uncle. So, anyway, horrible news. Horrible news. We talked about it on Wednesday. Ridge Holland caught Oney Lorcan, leg buckled. Did not look good. Especially that he was on the verge of doing that major storyline with Adam Cole. And by the way, props to all of you out there that came up with a name that I didn't even think about Wednesday. Maybe Pat McAfee is going to do a little return as a manager or something else. Maybe Pat but once you do what happens to like your foot, your ankle, and things like that, very, very difficult to gain that strength back 100%. He suffered a left ankle dislocation. He also fractured that ankle as well. He had a patella dislocation, his kneecap, dislocated, and he had a ruptured patella tendon. So this guy is going to be out of action for a very long time. I mean, I'm not going to do it live on this show because I'm wearing boxer shorts right now, but when I told everybody about my car accident, I shattered both sides of my ankle. I'll show you the scar. The scar goes from the side of my toe, big toe, all the way up past my ankle, like this. And to this day, I never gained full strength. And me, I was a fat bastard, up to 360 some odd pounds. You carry all that heavy weight for many, many years, you would think that things would get stronger because it's all that weight, and no, it's always been weak ever since. So I hope to God. And you know what? Ken terminated. He brings it up. Sounds an awful lot like what happened to Brian Pillman. Brian Pillman, yes, it was a Humvee accident, but still the injury to the ankle, very, very hard to fully recover from. I'm sure they probably put plates and screws in there. The funny thing about it is when I had my car accident in 96, when they took the plate and the screws out of my ankle in 2002, I had more pain than I had before. And the reason why they took it out is because when you have plate or screws, especially the plate, it doesn't bend. They don't have rubber plates. I mean, they did, but not for that. And the problem is that when your bone is supposed to do this and there's something, basically trying to keep it together, he's going to lose mobility. Brian Pillman, put the painkiller issue aside. That guy was never the high flyer aerial. I mean, he would do some moves here and there, but that guy had to change his whole career. Now, the good thing about Ridge Holland is he's a brawler. I mean, reminds you a lot of Brock Lesnar. But the strength in the legs and the push-off is so critical in wrestling. You saw that was Undertaker's biggest problem towards the tail end of his career. You know, when he was on his feet, going in the corner, boom, 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 he looked like $1 million. Even when he would do the leg boot, the leg kick, the high foot, and do the leg drop and everything else, the minute he had to push off his legs, the choke slam, when he had to do, remember the match with Roman Reigns, you see all the spots that went bad, even with the stuff with Goldberg, it all had to do with legs and feet. So I hope to God, the leg drop on the apron, I'm talking about the big boot also. He would do his version of the big boot. But I wish Ridge Holland nothing but the best. A lot of you out there truly believe that he is the next big thing, and his veteran theory said he spells next NXT. So, you know, that's something you didn't want to hear. Now, if you want to have some good news here, it looks like Angel Garza's injury is nowhere near the severity that we thought it was going to be. The fact that he was part of this draft, you know, usually if someone is going to be out 6-9 months, a year, you know, you basically just forget about them. They're not. And Elias, expect him to return any day now. The fact that he was included on this draft too. Now, you know, I tell you, let's talk about the draft now. All right. And I'm not going to get into SmackDown match, first round draft. SmackDown match, second round draft. I'm just going to give you the results of tonight's draft so far. Now, earlier in the day, I had a lot of you sending me emails and DMs a little bit confused because some people out there thought that this might have been like a mock draft or it was results, because if you actually look at this, you know, they're like, wait a minute, Naomi, New Day, Ricochet, Seth Rollins, Mandy Rose, Shayna, Shorty G, AJ Styles, Jay Uso, you know, they're not Raw stars. This was before the draft. This is not the results. And some people were asking me, like, why is this written up the way it is? Now, I'm going to give you the answer. And when I give you the answer, you're going to be like, oh, get the hell out of it. So stupid. I mean, I'm fine with them putting the list out like that, but the way they did it, I don't know why they even made two different colors, because it made it look like, you know, stars on Raw. If you look at this again, did anybody figure out why they did it this way? Anybody figure it out? The reason why they did the list like this is because it's in alphabetical order. All right. Yes, I know some like names like Shorty they're using as the first name, and Shayna Baszler, shouldn't that be like the letter B or a J, a Jax, or maybe because of that? So that's why they did it. It's in alphabetical order. But these were the wrestlers tonight that were going to be part of the draft. Everyone else is put aside till Monday. This is your available participants in Monday's draft. Bigger list, obviously. It's a 3-hour show, so you're going to have probably 6 or 7 rounds. And then remember, some people will also be classified as free agents after the draft is over with. So now we go back to this list, and, you know, maybe I should have made this a little bigger, but, you know, I'm not going to cross off names as we go along. But as I was looking at this towards the latter parts, now the beginning of the draft made total sense. You know, for anybody that wants the rules, let's throw the rules up there. Hold on. Yeah, here you go. More than 60 male superstars, female superstars, and tag teams have been placed in the 2020 WWE Draft. The draft begins tonight on SmackDown, concludes Monday on Raw. By the way, everyone, a couple of free agents that were not drafted tonight, WWE may announce them tomorrow. I don't know what they do on Saturday. They do the bump. Whatever show they do on Saturday, you're going to hear a couple of names signed. So a few people that were not signed tonight, you expect them to be announced tomorrow. And there's going to be a few people in limbo. Mickie James, unfortunately, the burial continues, even though, we'll talk about it on Monday, Mish and I, but, she apparently has a broken nose from a match with Zelina Vega. But, tag teams will count as one pick unless Fox or the USA Network wants to pick one superstar from the team. Now, I need to stress that one more than anything else because I saw a ton of people tonight with Otis saying, like, wait, that makes no sense. They were advertised as heavy machinery. Why was only Otis picked? In storyline, that makes Tucker feel like shit. Think about that for a minute. Otis and Tucker have been on SmackDown. Think about this for a minute. Fox, there was no war room because of COVID. Yay, we didn't draft Natty. Remember last year? But just think about that storyline for a minute. SmackDown on Fox. For almost a year, you have heavy machinery on SmackDown. Oh, yeah! And tonight, Fox only drafted Otis. Think about that for a minute. In storyline, if I'm Tucker, in story, this brand forgot about me. They could have just drafted heavy machinery in storyline, and they only chose Otis instead. So, so I wanted to explain that because, like I said, there were quite a few of you out there that were like, wait, this doesn't make sense. And remember too, and here's where it gets stupid, obviously. If you look at that one rule again, tag teams will count as one pick unless Fox or the USA Network wants to pick one superstar from the team. Now, go back and look at the draft pool, okay? Let's look at this again. Now, in storyline, there we go. Now, in storyline, explain to me how Dana Brooke is drafted. Well, you know what? Let's leave Dana Brooke alone. I use another one, which will upset some people out there, but I'm going to bring up a point. Mandy Rose, drafted in the 3rd round for Raw. Raw then drafts later on the New Day, Kofi and Xavier Woods. Now, you draft Mandy Rose before the New Day. Whether they had tag belts or not, you drafted Mandy Rose before New Day. To me, now, look, I thought the draft tonight was fine. It's never going to be perfect. But when you dissect certain things, you just left with, okay, that's kind of stupid. Now, here's even more stupid. Raw is drafted, okay, by, Fox, USA Network, whatever. They draft Kofi and Xavier Woods. Why would Raw not want Big E? Just think about that for a minute. And wait, how come for the first 8 tag reigns of New Day, it was assumed that all 3 are champions? How come tonight, suddenly, only 2? So there was a couple of things about this draft that I thought was kind of stupid if you actually break it down. Now, I will say this. No, Chad, I agree wholeheartedly. Look, Mish and I talked about it last week. We said Kofi and Xavier to Raw, Big E on SmackDown, Big E versus Roman Reigns, maybe your WrestleMania, one of your main events. That's what we talked about. So I'm not against it. But the way it was portrayed was stupid because in storyline, why would you draft Mandy Rose before the New Day? And then you draft the New Day, but you're like, no, we don't want Big E. Does that make any sense to you? So there was a couple of things with this draft that was very, very stupid. But the beginning of the draft made a lot of sense. The number 1 pick for Raw was Drew McIntyre. The number 1 pick for SmackDown was Roman Reigns, the heavyweight champions. The second pick for Raw was Asuka, the Raw Women's Champion. Now, some of you, again, didn't look at the list because some people are like, how come SmackDown didn't draft Bayley number 2? She wasn't available tonight. She's part of Mondays. But SmackDown chooses number 2, Seth Rollins. Raw, since they get 3 picks, they drafted the Hurt Business. Okay? So round 1, you had Drew McIntyre, Asuka, and Hurt Business. They're already on Raw. They're not going anywhere. On SmackDown, they chose Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins. So if you remember on Monday, when Mish and I were talking about Raw, what did we say about Murphy and Seth Rollins? That it felt suddenly rushed, extremely rushed, almost as if that somebody with the name Messiah in their name was going to be drafted over to SmackDown, because everything they did with Murphy on Monday felt awfully rushed. Now, the funny thing about it is Murphy could very well end up on SmackDown. Then you realize that this whole storyline, I mean, think about that for a minute. WWE is doing a love storyline with Alexa Bliss and Fiend, you know, monster and beautiful woman. Now we may see the Aaliyah storyline carry over on SmackDown, even if Murphy stays on Raw. Remember the Romeo and Juliet storyline that we talked about? Just think about that for a minute. Imagine Murphy being on Raw, and then the Mysterios being on SmackDown, and then Aaliyah shows up on Raw, and then Ray and Dominic. You see where I'm going with that? So, you know, it felt awfully rushed on Monday, but the first round made total sense. Total sense. Raw wants to keep their big guns. So, of course, you're going to draft your champions right at the beginning. Made total sense. Had no problem whatsoever. The second round, remember when we joked that, yeah, AJ Styles is on the same brand with Paul Heyman? We didn't think that was going to last all that long. AJ Styles is back on Raw after just being back on SmackDown from being back on Raw. AJ Styles is back on Raw. In the second round, Raw also took Naomi. They took Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax. So when you think about it, and again, I have nothing against Naomi whatsoever, but Raw took Naomi before they took Ricochet, Kofi Kingston, Xavier Woods, Miz, Morrison. So again, this was not common sense, you know. And again, it's nothing against Naomi, but if you just think of common sense, obviously you would choose other people before then, simply because of their history, their status, everything else. Second round on SmackDown side, they took Sasha Banks, which makes sense. She stays on SmackDown. And they took Bianca Belair. We just had that conversation last week. Bianca Belair may be better suited on SmackDown to possibly feud with some of the... Remember when we got into the whole conversation that the women on SmackDown are more polished in the ring for the most part? And Bianca Belair, I think, will fit in just fine on SmackDown. So now there is a possibility that Bayley could be drafted to Raw. I doubt it with Asuka being the Raw Women's Champion already, but they could do a swerve because they already announced the Hell in a Cell match. And if you remember last week, so many people had their balls in a bunch because, oh, why are they giving away on free TV Sasha versus Bayley? Why are they giving away on... Remember last week, everybody? Why are they giving away on free TV? That makes no sense. You remember what we talked about, you and I? That it was going to be a BS finish. It was all to set up the match for Hell in a Cell. And that's exactly what happened. The match tonight, 2 minutes. Bayley gets herself disqualified. Sasha beats the crap out of her. Hell in a Cell. Easy. But now... people, why are they doing it on free TV? It doesn't make sense. Why are you giving away on free TV? Take a B12 shot, moron. But they already announced the match. So if one person goes to another brand, doesn't matter. The match is already signed. It's already announced. The match still has to happen. Expect at least 1 or 2 matches to end up like that. So, just to recap once again, second round, AJ Styles, Naomi, Shayna Baszler, and Nia Jax for Raw. For SmackDown, Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair. For round 3, Raw took Ricochet, Mandy Rose, Miz, and Morrison. You could see the tag team division getting bigger on Raw. I don't know what this does to SmackDown when you think about it, because SmackDown has already been hurting in the tag team department, and they just split up Otis and Tucker, it looks like. I mean, for all we know, they could just sign Tucker tomorrow, and Heavy Machinery still is around. But in storyline, if I'm Tucker, I'd be pretty pissed right now. So, third round for SmackDown, they took Jay Uso, Dominic, and Rey Mysterio. So, I don't know when Rey is ready to return to the ring, but Dominic and Rey together, does Angie come with it also? I mean, does the potted plant come to SmackDown too? But why is father and son? Are they a tag team? I thought Caillo and Dominic were a tag team. I'm trying to figure that one out. Why is Dominic and Rey being drafted together? Because they're both named Mysterio? Thought it was a little bit dopey. Philip Maffey. Do I think there'll be any NXT call-ups? Well, one thing that came out of tonight for sure is NXT was not part of this draft. So they could just call up people and just show up. What's he doing here? What's she doing here? Don't discount what I had said already about the possibility of the Iconics possibly reforming. We might see 2 people. And remember, look, I know about the controversy with Mercedes Martinez right now. And again, you know, it's cute to see people from websites and podcasts saying, oh, my sources tell me Mercedes Martinez is no longer part of Retribution. Well, you know, it's kind of cute that a whole bunch of people said that right after Mustafa Ali posted a picture of 5 members of Retribution and Mercedes Martinez is not one of them. Yeah, your sources. Yeah, okay. Okay. Yeah, it's cute when you're 14 years old, but when you're 44, it's probably a little bit, you know, like, all right, that's what you need attention for. But as far as my view, I hope they didn't take Mercedes Martinez out of this because of her age. Because Mercedes Martinez is one of the legit badass mofos on that roster. I am not going to sit here and tell you Mercedes Martinez is still part of Retribution or not part of Retribution anymore, because the fact of the matter is we don't know. We don't know. She hasn't been formally introduced on TV yet. I'm sorry, could you tell me which episode it was where Mercedes Martinez, that they actually like said her name on? I don't recall that. Mia Yim got on the mic one time, so everybody saw her face. That's Mia Yim, but I don't remember Mercedes Martinez actually speaking or they announcing the name. So we don't know. We don't know. Nobody out there knows. If somebody out there knew, then they would have said it before Mustafa Ali posted a cartoon graphic of Retribution. So there's all your sources, everyone. A tweet with a picture. That's it. So I hope Mercedes is still part of it. I really do. I hope that maybe she didn't get injured or something. I hope she is, because she brings some big-time legitimacy. She's a badass, all right? Maybe she's not a household name for a lot of people out there, but, you know, Retribution is part of the draft on Monday. Now, you know for a fact they're not going to SmackDown unless Fox is convinced that there's no remnants of anything looking like Antifa. That is why we talked about that 5 weeks ago. That's why they got the TV 14 rating. And that's why you haven't seen Retribution or even a taste of it on SmackDown. You don't even get blinking lights anymore for the most part. So we'll see. We'll see. Yeah, one was retaliation and one was reckoning, I think it is. But look, let's wait and see. That's the right way to go. So, so anyway, the final round, which was round 4 for the draft tonight, you had Kofi and Xavier Woods going to Raw. This was right after they won the tag titles tonight. Dana Brooke and Angel Garza. On SmackDown side, they took Big E and they took Otis. By the way, Stephanie was the one that narrated it. I honestly don't know if the New Day were aware of who was going to go where before it started. They certainly sold it great that they were very much not happy that they were going to split up. You know, they've talked about it on podcast, and you might even remember about maybe 4 months ago, we had a conversation, and New Day could say whatever they want on their own podcast that, you know, New Day, they're never going to split. I said they could be like the Horsemen. They could be on separate brands, but they're still the New Day, you know, and at the end of the day, it's not their decision. They definitely have influence, and deservingly so, but it's up to WWE management and creative. They're the ones that make the decisions. So, yeah, Big E, look, I don't know if they knew, but I will tell you this, Mr. Stony Loney. I think that if they knew before Stephanie announced the draft, you know, their moves, I think emotionally you would still be affected by it. So even if Big E and New Day knew that Kofi and Xavier were going to Raw and Big E was going to stay on SmackDown, you know, once you hear it officially, you know, it hits you. So, you know, I'm sure for the sake of storyline in the draft, New Day are not going to go on their podcast and say, oh, we knew early in the day. You know, we knew exactly. No, because that kind of like puts up in smoke the whole, you know, idea of the draft. Now, you know, we know, you know, how they format it, but New Day are professional players. So they're not going to, you know, spoil that. But even if they knew and it's official, and they hear it, you know, you get emotional over that. So they've been tight unit. Good thing about it is, you know, it doesn't have to stay forever. I mean, you could ultimately see, oh, New Day's on SmackDown. Oh, they were traded. Remember, trades can happen. And don't be surprised, after a week, we may see a trade where somebody goes to the other brand. So I personally think you could have a few NXT names come up, but they're not going to be part of the draft. And Lars, like I said earlier, good that he's there. I wrote it early today. I was hoping that he wasn't officially part of SmackDown. You know, that was the first thing I wrote online. I said, I hope that they're considering him a free agent. And sure, about 5-10 minutes later, we realized that's what it was. Because I personally think Lars showing up at least once in Raw Underground would be awesome. So it doesn't necessarily mean that Lars is a SmackDown person right now. So we'll see what happens. But, you know, some names on NXT could very well be called up. But remember, Mercedes Martinez, barring some type of issue, and Mia Yim are two very solid names. And if Mercedes remains a part of Retribution, they would be a great tag team. Because right now, the women's tag team division is in desperate need of, you know, new blood. Seriously, you broke up the Iconics. You split up Sasha and Bayley. You know, I mean, that's a dent. Whether the Iconics are great or not, that's the dent. So you got to replenish that. Mercedes and Mia Yim would be a great duo as a tag team. So we got to see what happens. Aew Torres, should the potted plant join Retribution? What would she be? What would she be? What's the name of that old dry tree. What is it? You know what? No, Mick Foley might get mad. They could call her El Cactus. El Cactus. Retribution member Cactus. What was the name that I said on, was it Monday or Tuesday? I picked a name for somebody and it was hilarious and I can't remember who. Oh, no, I think it was a name for me. Oh, I know what it was. If I became a part of Retribution, I could be Retribution member Hole Digger. I'd be Hole Digger. I dig holes. I'd be Hole Digger. But no, I mean, Angie, like I said, I have nothing against her. She seems like a sweet person. She's not a wrestling character. And she gives me, I'm going to get it right for the second week in a row, she gives me the Helen Hart vibes. You know, I don't understand why she's on TV week after week after week. You know, so. No, Benjamin, I'm a big fan of the Mysterio family. I'm not crapping on any of that, but honestly, I even think deep down inside, seriously, I just can't picture Angie in the dressing room after and said, yeah, I knocked it out of the park tonight, or I was great. She just doesn't make sense being on TV. And it all stems back to when they treated Murphy like, what's a piñata? You know, he treated Murphy like a piñata. The minute Angie picks up the Singapore cane, I don't care what the storyline is, the eyeball popped out, the testicles popped out, you know, boobs popped out. I don't care what popped out. I don't care what transpired up to that point. The minute that Angie picks up the Singapore cane and starts hitting Murphy, that you expect candy to come out of his ass, she now becomes a character. And she just sits there and she walks to the back. She has the Helen Hart look on her face. She walks to the back. So I'm just talking as a wrestling personality. It's not anything on the personal level. But seriously, why is she on TV? I mean, obviously I know to add to the storyline about the family that, you know, Aaliyah is turning the family upside down. But again, even if Aaliyah turns, even if Aaliyah dresses to kill, even if Aaliyah kisses Murphy, even if she kisses a frog, even if she defects and goes, you know, to the other brand, you know, you got them all on SmackDown and she goes on Raw so she can see Murphy, you know, whatever it is, you know, it's still, I mean, I don't know, man. I think we're talking a little too much about the potted plant. So, by the way, there's only, I think, 3 or 4 shirts left if you want to pick it up. Good friend of the show, Nick. Oh, that's a little too small. There you go. Nick Winstead Art, great graphics artist. He made this Oscar shirt. It's limited edition to 23. You can get it in size large to 3X. If you want to go pick one up, go to Nick Winstead Art. You can see the link right there, nickwinsteadart.bigcartel.com, and order one. Good friend of the family, great artist. And, you know, hey, if you're a fan of Oscar, you got a pretty unique shirt. So, anyway, so that is the results of tonight's draft. Like I said on Monday, this is what we're looking at. And with 3 hours, expect 6 to 7 rounds. And, you know, the big question, I think, right now more than anything else is what happens to the Street Profits. Because I know there's quite a few of you out there that want to see the tag titles merge on both brands. I think that would be an absolutely foolish thing to do business-wise, because just for the sake of USA Network and Fox, tonight was a perfect example of it. You know, impromptu tag team title match on Fox tonight, New Day. You know, you're going to take that away and only keep it on one brand. And I know what you're going to say, well, the champions could fight on both brands. Yeah, but once you start a feud, you know, it really gets stuck with only one brand. So I personally, I just think the tag titles need to be utilized better. Again, I have no problem with New Day being tag champs. But tonight pretty much put an exclamation point of what I've been saying for a long time now. That, you know, they are the Four Horsewomen. Them and the Usos are the equivalent of the Four Horsewomen. The tag team division is kind of in like quicksand or it's just stuck in the mud, and they're available, and Xavier Woods just returned from injury. Kofi just returned from injury. So, hey, you know what? You know, the ratings are not all that great. Cesaro and Nakamura are really just, you know, that's how they look at it. Oh, we'll put the tag belts on them. And now they'll be in the commercials for Fox, SmackDown, Are You Ready? They keep going back to them. They're going to be 14-time tag champs. You watch. Remember the number 14. So, anyway. So that's what we have looking forward to on Monday. And again, I need to once again say, if you look at this list, you got to add Lars's name to it because Lars will be a part of this as well. We already talked about Andrade. Andrade, I'm very concerned about. I think Andrade is got to be pretty much guaranteed to go to SmackDown. The fact that Andrade and Angel Garza never technically split. You know, they had that tag title match. Angel got injured. You know, I don't care what promo Andrade did the following week, but the fact that they weren't advertised on the draft as a tag team, you know, you don't waste 2 draft picks by keeping them on the same brand. So we'll see. We'll see. But the Street Profits, you almost feel that they're destined for SmackDown. And we got to wait till next week. Because right now, let me bring this up too. The free agents. We didn't talk about the free agents. Hang on a second. The free agents, as a result of tonight's draft, are the following. Where are my free agents? Hold on. Here we go. Alberto Carrillo. He was part of the draft tonight. Nobody wanted him. Elias. Nobody wanted him. Drew Gulak. Nobody wanted him. Tucker. Mother Tucker. Mickie James. She'll probably be the last one announced. Just perception. Just feels like Nick Aldis says a couple of words. Mirdo says a couple of words. And we see how Mickie James and Lana have been used for the last month. Sorry, I think it's just a little too coincidental. Lucha House Party. My God, look at Kalisto. If I had $1 every time he showed the social media world his abs, now he's got the one by the pool. I mean, the Lucha House Party. Lucha. Nobody wanted them. Let me just clear up this rumor right now. I was not part of Team Raw tonight. I was not part of Team SmackDown. Because even though, you know, if I was in one of those war rooms, I would just, even on Fox, I would look at the robot and say, I will fucking throw you in water and watch you rust to death. You do not draft the Lucha House Party. I swear to God, I'll spray this in your eyes. So I had nothing to do with that. But you see what I mean? The Lucha House Party, we're supposed to believe that they're legitimate contenders for the tag titles. Nobody legitimately thought that because WWE used it. And the trend continues. Nobody wanted them. Murphy, think about that. The whole storyline. Nobody drafted Murphy tonight. They had to have Dana Brooke. Now explain to me why you put Dana Brooke on Raw 2 weeks ago just to put her in the fucking draft anyway. I'm trying to understand that one. And Shorty G. Nobody wants Shorty G. So, like I said, by this time tomorrow, some of them will be quote-unquote signed. But just the perception as far as TV goes, a little bit dopey. So, let's see. Before we talk about SmackDown, because really tonight was all about the draft. Couple of things came out of SmackDown that I thought were pretty damn good. You know what? Before we talk about SmackDown, and again, everybody, I don't have that much to get into tonight. So it's going to be an early night for yours truly for a change. Thank God. Sunday, don't forget. I don't know if it's 6 p.m. or 7. It's on the YouTube clip. So I'll post the teaser earlier in the day. But Sunday night, I'm doing the live Q&A from a couple of weeks ago. So you still have time. All you got to do is just go on my channel, and you'll see as soon as you enter my channel, to see the videos, you'll see the Q&A thread right there. You could post any questions you want. It could have to do with wrestling, personal, politics, sports. I care less. Movies, music. So you have until 12 noon on Sunday to post a couple of questions. Just all I ask is, no trolling, because I'm not going to acknowledge trolling. Don't ask me about other podcast hosts. And, just keep the questions where I don't have to do crazy research. Once in a while, I get this question. Pick 4 people from the 60s, pick 3 people from the 70s, 4 people from the 80s, 2 from the 90s, 1 from 2000s, and, put them all together in a battle royal. And what tag teams would you... I'm like, come on, man. Just ask me what's my favorite color. So we'll do that Sunday night. We'll have fun. It'll be a good show. There's already like 100-something questions. So we got a big show ahead. So that's why we'll keep some of this discussion on Sunday. Then we got Monday. Let's talk about Alberto El Patron a little bit. Dopey motherfucker. Idiot, moron, disgraziata. Matarazzi. He has been indicted on 5 counts. 1 count of aggravated kidnapping, 4 counts of sexual abuse. Now, I dug into this a little bit deeper. Now, what the report that came out of the court said is that Alberto El Patron was dating this woman. He accused her of cheating on him. And she denied it. They really haven't specifically said if he was under the influence. I don't want to make any claims that aren't, but I heard that he was under the influence. And it was a little bit more than tequila or babanya. He basically slapped her around and forced her to dance for him. Now, I'm not trying to make this comedic at all, but, I'm just like picturing it, and I'm like, this was all about intimidation on his side. I mean, I think of the scene in Goodfellas. Dance, Spider, dance, Spider. Wasn't funny. It wasn't funny. He ended up getting shot and got killed. He's basically telling her to dance for him. He then ties her hands with straps, boxing strap. Remember, he did the boxing stuff. He put a sock in her mouth. And, I tell you, if you read this straight through, it almost sounds like a bad comedy. It's like, and I'm not saying this to be funny. I'm making my point. Like, I have never abused a woman like that. I might have abused a woman with bad comedy, cracking jokes, and, they fall flat. Or maybe, I'll be cleaning around the house and I smell like, a sewer rat. But I've never gotten violent with a woman. And I agree with you, Chris. You know what? Fuck it. Fuck you. I'm not you, Chris, but him. Let's just say it. It appears he was as high as a kite. This guy was zooted out of his head. He thinks this person is cheating on him. He fucking puts a sock in her mouth, ties her wristbands, telling her to dance. Then he sexually assaulted her with different objects. I could only imagine what he did. Then, because she was crying, he threatened her because she has, I guess, a teen or a kid, that he threatened her that he was going to just, take the kid and just drop him off somewhere, So, yeah, George Burns, I'm telling you, man, if you remember, I tell you, seriously, what was going through my head as I read this for real is I can only imagine what must be going through Paige's head, because she dated him for a little while. And you know what? I give credit to everybody out there who mingles with her on Twitch and other places that don't push that issue. Because I could only help. I always think back to that airport incident. And I always think back to, you know, you remember the incident with the phone? And, you know, there was alleged that he was stabbed or something like that. I could only imagine what could have happened to this woman. Now, it's just as bad whether it's Paige or someone that we don't know or someone who's not in wrestling. Abuse is abuse. But, you know, this is just outrageous. And basically what he is facing is this. Now, again, I know why people were saying online that he could be facing life in prison. The reason why they did that is because if you Google Texas aggravated kidnapping law, just type that in a Google search. First thing that comes up is a paragraph that says that you could face, 2 to 99 years. So they do a Google search, they read the first sentence, hey, everybody, he can face life in prison if he's get. No, it goes a little bit deeper than this. Basically, what the deal is there in Texas, there's a difference between kidnapping and aggravated kidnapping. Basically, if he released the person, okay, if you go on Texas law, it'll get into it a lot more detail. But basically the thing is that there's a second-degree felony and a third-degree felony with aggravated kidnapping. The second degree, actually it's first degree and second degree. It's the sexual abuse that goes to the third degree. But what it comes down to is that if you kidnap someone and commit rape, if it's someone who is under the age, if it was someone over 65, if it was someone with a disability, if you threatened to kill the person, you could be charged with first-degree felony of aggravated kidnapping. And that is where people are saying he could face life in prison. But if you look at second-degree aggravated kidnapping, that would basically be, his jail time would be between 2 and 20 years in prison. And the fine, whether it's first degree or second degree, the fine is still $10,000. So based on what I read with what he's been accused of, he is likely facing second degree aggravated kidnapping, because they also had a relationship. Doesn't justify it, but there's a little bit more as far as them together. And some of the circumstances, as far as after, she got away, this seems like second-degree aggravated kidnapping, which is, like I said, 2 to 20 years. First degree is 5 to life. It's a big difference, 5 years to life. Imagine you get convicted of the first-degree felony and you only do 5 years. So he's facing 2 to 20. With that aggravated kidnapping. Now, the sexual assault, he's facing 4 charges for sexual assault. Now, they have a first degree, second degree, and third degree. All right. And this all, again, comes down to what he did and didn't do. Believe it or not, you have to go to Texas law and see what the difference is between rape and sexual abuse. So, again, with the second degree sexual abuse, he could be facing 2 years, 3 years per charge. In my opinion, for people that are saying he could face life in prison, they're not going to put him in jail for life. But legitimately, this guy is facing anywhere from 2 to 10 years in prison for what he did. This guy's career is over. And even if he gets out with good time 5 years from now, who is really going to want to, book this guy? That's it. His career is over. Sam, I lost him on the math. My point is that things get negotiated, things get chopped down. You remember when I talked about the things that I worried about with the George Floyd tragedy and some of the other tragedies? Some of these states, in my opinion, overcharged the cops. All right. As much as this is a tragedy and it's disgusting, and still it pisses me off that our country is not requiring every cop to have body cam on, still, I don't think that cop woke up that day and was looking to kill somebody. First-degree murder and second-degree murder, two totally different things. Premeditation is probably the biggest factor here. And let me make my point before anybody gets upset, which is not going to turn into a big thing. I'm just making my point with the Alberto stuff. The thing is that some of these states, even those two cops that shot that guy that was in the fast food, I can't remember his name right now, I'm worried that some of these states are charging cops with first-degree murder to appease the community. The problem is, once you get to court, you have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt why that person should be convicted of first-degree murder. And if there's just a little bit of gap, that's it, not guilty. Casey Anthony trial should have learned everybody with that. They should have went for second degree, but they insisted on first degree, and because they couldn't prove beyond a reasonable doubt, she got let go. So the thing with Alberto is they're going to chop this down a little bit. I don't think this guy is going to plead guilty to a lesser charge. Ain't no way. There's no way, in my opinion, that Alberto El Patron is going to say, yeah, I did it. Okay, I'll take the 5 years or 2 years, or he's going to plead not guilty. It makes sense. But what's going to happen is that the prosecutor is going to go for what he believes he could get a conviction on. So, like I said, with the aggravated kidnapping, I guarantee you, I'm not great on law, and I'm not trying to claim to be, but I have done enough research to understand how, this goes. You're going to see they're going to go after second degree. And as far as the sexual assault goes, they'll probably go after him for one charge, maybe two, instead of four. You look at the Jeff Hardy situation many years ago when he had all those painkillers in his house. He had narcotics in his house. And they charged him with distribution and this and this and this. And it was all negotiated down because Jeff Hardy claimed that a lot of this medication he hoarded. A lot of people know exactly what I'm talking about as far as hoarding medication. You're not hoarding it to sell it, but you fear that one day your doctor is not going to be able to prescribe it or refuses to prescribe it, or maybe your doctor drops dead or something like that, and you want to reserve. It's a comfort to know that you have a month, 6 weeks. It's not right, but that's why people do. I've done it. So thing is that once this started going to court, the DA is only going to go after what he could pretty much guarantee he can get. And both sides negotiate. So it's absolutely disgusting what this guy did. And he's going to go to jail. I mean, there's no way that this guy gets off. I know that sounds wrong, but there's no way he's going to get off with just a slap on the wrist. And again, if I was him, maybe you blame it on the drugs. Maybe you blame it on a terrible drug habit. Wouldn't be surprised if even the defense lawyer tries to paint the picture that this woman partied as well. When one side is usually getting zooted up all the time like that, a lot of times the opposite side as well. She doesn't deserve to be sexually abused or assaulted, even if she was doing drugs, but you could see how they can incorporate that and say, look, everybody was partying, doing drugs, it got out of control, did things, regret it, blah, 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 blah. that's how the criminal system works. So I don't agree with a lot of it, but I'm just trying to explain it a little bit. So anyway, you want me to talk about SmackDown now and then the quarter-hour ratings for AEW and NXT, or do you want me to do the ratings first and then SmackDown? Because like I said, SmackDown, it's not that much to get into, but some very important things. Okay, all right. It's my show. Do the ratings. I like you for my live friends and family out there. I'd rather you all choose. You pay. All right. So everybody's saying the ratings. Look, there's not much for me to get into. I got his ass off the screen, and so let's talk about the AEW NXT ratings this week, because look, I'm not stupid. The vice presidential debate, which I have not seen yet, by the way, I am just totally fed up with politics. Both sides. Fed up with both. Seriously. I will watch it over the weekend, but I haven't watched it yet. But I'm not stupid. The vice presidential debate definitely was going to get viewers. The playoffs, baseball, was definitely going to get viewers. Now, again, I don't pay attention to demos, but I did get a chuckle out of some website saying, wow, this is the first time ever that, like a lot of women, that I think somebody even said that more women in one demographic watched AEW than men. I don't know if it was like the 12 to 18 or 12 to 7, but they were like, more women watched AEW than men. I don't count any of that this week because of the debate in the playoffs. But when you get a low rating like you do, and you just immediately put an excuse on a debate or playoffs or something else. I always brought this up in the past. I look back to when I was doing my hotline in 98, 99, 2000. There was elections back then in 2000. There was debates. There was playoffs and sports and Survivor and all these other things. And yet ratings were through the roof because it comes down to one thing. People prefer to watch something, whatever it is, than something else. Back in 2000, majority of wrestling fans out there preferred to watch wrestling instead of playoffs, instead of debates or this, that. Now, again, we didn't have a Trump or a Biden in 2000, but my point is that at the end of the day, if your rating is low, that means that somebody chose to watch something other than your product. Plain and simple. No other way to put it. Now, when people immediately blamed the debate and the playoffs on some of these bad numbers, I have some interesting information for all of you out there. So let's talk about it. I almost nailed NXT again. I think I was within 6,000 for the second week in a row. AEW, I overshot them a little bit. NXT, hour number 1, 680,000 viewers. Hour number 2, 598 for a composite of 639,000. AEW, hour 1, 780. Hour 2, 726 for a composite of 753. Now, here's where it gets a little interesting. What a lot of people forget is that the debate didn't start till 9 p.m. Eastern. First hour of AEW and NXT, there was no debate on the air. And don't tell me that everybody was watching a debate pre-show. Yeah, Sam is saying I was damn close. I try to be. I look at all different. I'm not perfect, and I could get way off sometimes, but that's why I pay attention to the quarter hours. I pay attention to the quarter hours more than the demos, because you see the pattern of who gets ratings and who isn't. When I get to Brodie Lee versus Cody, even if you don't like either one of them, you got to give them credit for this week. And it's not just because of the dog collar match, because I've said it before, Brodie Lee has popped ratings every time he's on TV. Cody also pops ratings. Now, it's not millions of people, but for Wednesday Night Wrestling, they pop some of the biggest numbers consistently. So, Let's do the breakdown. So the first 4 quarters of each show had no debate going on. Keep that in mind. For the first quarter, which was Will Hobbs versus Brian Cage, they opened up with 767,000 viewers. Wasn't it last week that they opened up with over 1 million? Ricky Starks versus Darby Allin. Was it last week or the week before? They opened up over 1 million. Again, the debate did not start until an hour later. Will Hobbs and Brian Cage only got 767. Then the next quarter, which was Taz, the confrontation with Will Hobbs, Darby Allin coming out. Then you had the promo from Lance Archer. Rating drop, just a drop to 760. FTR versus Jack Evans and Angelico. And then Best Friends coming out and doing that goofy wiener thing along with MJF's promo. Believe it or not, the rating went up 54,000 viewers to 814. Fourth quarter, which was the vignettes featuring Brodie and Cody. Yes, I rhymed. I'm a poet in case you didn't know it. And the introductions. Believe it or not, those vignettes and the introductions was almost 15 minutes long. So it went down to 777. So now you're saying to yourself, okay, we're at the fourth quarter. The rating went from 814 down to 777. So now we're about to start the Cody Brodie Lee match. And at the same time, the debate starts. Well, even though you had a presidential debate starting for those first 15 minutes where everybody is focused, and even though you had AEW going on at the same time, they went up 72,000 viewers to 849,000. So Cody versus Brodie Lee, head-to-head with playoffs and presidential debates, actually drew the biggest number of the night by far, 849. It was the only quarter that went over 820. I mean, 814 was third quarter, but for the second hour, that was the biggest rate. Now, as the night went on, they kept losing viewers. They opened up second hour, going up against the debate. They did 849, which is solid. Then, after that match ended, and then they did the Orange Cassidy, Cody confrontation and Kenny Omega's promo, they lost 126,000 viewers. They went all the way down to 723. Big Swole versus Serena Deeb and Jon Moxley's promo dropped all the way down to 637, another 86,000 viewership drop. And then the main event, Chris Jericho and Jake Hager versus Serpentico and Luther, that went up 59,000 viewers, and they finished the night at 696. So that is your AEW. So again, even though they were up against the debate, Cody and Brodie Lee, impressive number. But the other 2 quarters, less to be desired. Now we go to NXT. This is interesting because NXT, Kushida versus Tommaso Ciampa opened up with 718,000 viewers. Almost head-to-head with AEW. But you could see if AEW and NXT started almost at the same rating, you could see the difference between the two promotions, okay? Especially when you go to the opening quarter for the second hour. So Kushida versus Ciampa scored 718. Then it went down 31,000 viewers for the finish of that match and then the Ember Moon interview. So again, there's no debate on yet. And those 2 segments, Ember Moon and the finish of that match, the Velveteen Dream interference, dropped them 31,000 viewers to 687. Then you had the Io Shirai interview, the Undisputed Era promo, the outside segment with Drake Maverick and Killian Dane, and then their match between those 2 versus Everrise, and the Tony Storm promo. That all was in that 15-minute block. They still lost 33,000 viewers, down to 654. Fourth quarter of the first hour, Johnny Gargano and Candice LeRae's vignette, Austin Theory versus Leon Ruff, and then the beginning of Austin Theory versus Dexter Lumis. They just increased slightly to 663. Now we get the opening quarter for hour 2. And they dropped 90,000 viewers to 573,000. That was their finish of the match of Dexter Lumis versus Austin Theory, Cameron Grimes interfering, and then you had that video package with Finn Balor and Kyle O'Reilly recapping TakeOver. So you could see clearly that they lost a ton of viewers who went and watched AEW. That quarter in NXT only scored 573. Meanwhile, AEW scored 849. So there you see it. But unfortunately, NXT can never recover from it because your next quarter, which was quarter 6, they only went up 39,000 viewers. That was Ridge Holland versus Danny Birch. Obviously, the injury that transpired. And then the Gargano-LeRae vignette where they got the TV. They only went up slightly to 612. The Timothy Thatcher video, I like Timothy Thatcher. But I have said this now for 3 months. Some of the lowest quarter hours, whether he's in the ring or doing vignettes. His segment, and then Shotzi Blackheart versus Xia Li dropped all the way down to 590,000 viewers. Then your main event, which was Rhea Ripley and Ember Moon versus Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez, they only increased slightly to 613,000 viewers. So you see where, and we kind of figured that out with NXT. It just felt, like, I don't want to say that they winged it because, just packed it in, because they did work hard that night. But nothing really stood out. Once you add Kushida versus Ciampa, the rest of the night, it's almost as if they're like, look, we got the debate going on. We got playoffs going on. AEW celebrating 30 years of Jericho. Let's just put something out there. And unfortunately, Ember Moon, her 2 appearances did not really do anything. Nobody really tuned in for that. So just to summarize, when I do this, people always like, just to see how the nights go, because you could see the difference between the two. So you started AEW 767, 760, 814, 777, 849, 723, 637, 696. So second hour, they started strong. Then after Cody and Brodie Lee, there was nothing that really kept anybody's interest until the main event with the Jericho stuff. NXT, 718, 687, 645, 663, 573, 612, 590, 613. They could not get on any momentum whatsoever. They would go down and down and down. They might recover just a drop and then go down more, and recover a drop and go down more. So NXT was, I agree, it was just okay this week. And, I don't know, man. I just, it was very lackluster in my opinion. So anyway, before we go, let's talk a little bit about SmackDown. Big E versus Sheamus. Falls count anywhere. Anybody out there feel like Sheamus is going to Raw? The only reason why I say that is because Sheamus attacked Big E many weeks ago, and it just felt like it didn't go anywhere. It went a little bit, but it just felt like we thought, yes, there was no title involved, but we thought that maybe they have a match at Payback. Just think about it. At least Payback. Think about the name, Payback. I don't remember. Did they have a match on Payback? I don't think so. I don't remember a match on Payback, because I would have been like, oh, there's a Payback. So they did this match tonight, and they tore it up. They knocked it out of the park. This was a fun match. It was very physical. I will say this, not to be a jerk, but Big E at one point used a broom, uses a weapon. If I had $1 for every person who tried to be cute with Oh, Big E, the cleaner, the cleaner. He's doing Kenny Omega, the cleaner, the cleaner. Road Dogg, Hardcore Holly, Crash Holly, Terry Funk, Al Snow, Cactus Jack, Gerald fucking Briscoe. Should I continue? What do they all have in common? They cracked brooms over their opponents' backs in hardcore matches for WWF. Don't give me this fucking because they cracked a broom over somebody's head. And the cleaner, the cleaner, the cleaner. If I actually took a half an hour's time and did the research, I could give you probably 30 different instances that WWE has used broomsticks in matches. So please, please, I know your history or maybe your attention span might not go that far back. I understand why you do that, but you see a broomstick, it doesn't mean that Kenny Omega has the trademark to it now, and anybody that does a broomstick is copying him. I think that's a little bit of a stretch, to be honest with you. It's a little bit of a stretch. They do janitor stuff, and there's a mop or there's a broom around. You use it as a weapon. Why do you think all of those guys? I mean, if you think that I was making up for those guys, why don't you Google some of the hardcore matches? WWE has that DVD, the best of the hardcore title. Count how many broomsticks you see are used during that DVD. But their match was phenomenal tonight. I did get a kick out of Sheamus doing white noise onto Big E through a windshield again. And a month ago, Big E was paralyzed, exaggerating, put on a stretcher, repeated 3 times. Everybody's concerned. Michael Cole with the very deep voice. Ladies and gentlemen, Big E is about to be taken out in a stretcher, and our thoughts are and prayers with Big E. Sheamus does the same thing today. Not only is it a 2 count, but no broken glass in the back, no stretcher, no nothing. Like suddenly white noise through a windshield doesn't hurt anymore. You know, I could see when it's a veteran who, you know, once they at the tail end of their career, they hit their finisher and everybody kicks out at 2 and they're like, what do you think you're doing over here? But they tore it up today. I mean, it was a fun match. And, you know, you had Big E at one point, my God, you know, they used some corny weapons as well. They used eggs. Big E, it looked like he took some of those booty-os from underneath the ring. I mean, there was definitely a little bit of corniness to it. But Big E picks up Sheamus and does the big ending. They jump off a car through a table. Big E gets the pin. And it was a really phenomenal match, but it left me thinking that Sheamus is going to Raw. That this feud is over. It's done. And this felt like somebody's moving to another brand. Remember what I said Monday about Seth Rollins and Murphy? I said, wow, this, like, Murphy getting fed up feels awfully forced, like quick. Just like awfully forced. And sure enough, Seth Rollins gets drafted to SmackDown. Now, again, we don't know what's going to happen with Murphy. But if you're going to do the Romeo and Juliet storyline that Mish and I have been talking about for the last 3 or 4 weeks now, maybe you keep Murphy on Raw. And Aaliyah sneaks to Raw to see Murphy. My dad's not here. My brother's not here. They're on SmackDown. Anyway, what's up, Anthony Diaz? What's going on? What is Anthony saying over there? Don't knock my attention, Deli Man. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to do Deli Man for Halloween. I'd like to. The only problem is it gets so freaking hot under that mask. My God, when I did the last Deli Man thing, when I hit Vinny DeGuido with the Italian bread and shoved the gizzards in his mouth, I had that mask on for about 30 minutes. When I took it off, I mean, my sweat had sweat. It was just so, and this room gets pretty hot. Thank God tonight it's not so bad. But yeah, that's something I don't want to wear that long. And you know how long these shows go sometimes. So, you know, we'll see. But I'll probably just end up going like Total Gangster or something. You know, maybe Goodfellas, or I still got 70s clothes that I haven't worn yet that I was going to wear on these shows. But then I thought about it. I'm like, you know, it was a little goofy, but we'll see what happens. But I don't know. What do you guys think about that idea of Murphy staying on Raw and Aaliyah sneaking to Raw to see Murphy? I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying it's going to be good, but what do you think about that idea? I actually could see that happening. So, talk about that Kairi Sane news. You know what? Look, Anthony, I don't want to rip any websites out there. You know, like I said, the ones who are immediately going after Lars, you know, I talked about them earlier, but look, I mean, nobody's perfect out there. I mean, some people, you know, do make mistakes. Once in a while, I make a mistake as well. We all do. But the Kairi Sane stuff, you know, for those that don't know, she did an interview and she talked about how brutal her 3 years were living in the United States. And I'll tell you the truth, man. I expected myself to get a little bit upset at Kairi Sane. I expected to be like, fuck you talking about? We're in like a free country and this and that, and we're the greatest country in the world and blah, blah, blah. Then I really started thinking about the Japanese culture is so different from us. You see all the toxicity on social media, and it's out in the real world as well. And then she misses her family. She misses, and I even brought this up a week or two ago when people were saying, man, you know, I want to see Kairi Sane back. And I said, well, and what is she going to do? You want to see her back and, you know, not being utilized the right way, and, you know, now, you know, being just like totally out of her environment. She's back in Japan. She's happy. And, you know, right now, I think that's the best medicine for her. I didn't get insulted when she said that her 3 years in the United States was brutal. I could only imagine. I mean, I probably, if I went to a different country and I had to stay there for a couple of years and I missed my culture, my family, my friends, you know, even my cuisine, or I'd be pretty homesick as well. So I don't think so, you know. So, you know, there was no reason for me to get mad. Now, for everybody out there, you know, and since Anthony paid me to rip on goofy websites, now you think of that and you say, Anthony, let me finish. This is going somewhere. Now, look, you think about that with Kairi Sane, you're like, wow, you know, you kind of feel bad for her, and you just want to see her happy and this and that. So I expected myself to get angry. Then I felt bad about it. Then I felt bad for her. Then it put a smile on my face, like, hey, she's home now, and she loves WWE, and she loves the fans, and she was just bad. Then you find out that none of it was true. I don't understand why it's so hard for these websites to get shit correct. I mean, and it's not stuff that, you know, like, look, you see what happened to Mike Pence? Did you see that news article? Joe knew the Matt Travis case. Are you talking about the whack job with Sonya Deville? I'll get into that on Monday. I don't have any information in front of me. No, but let me make my point here. I mean, how do you, like, write a whole story like that and then none of it is true? For those that don't know, with the vice president, I haven't watched the debate. I'm not paying attention to stuff. But I see yesterday all these things circulating from all the Trump haters out there, like, oh, good for Mike Pence. He's got COVID. I'm like, huh? He fucking got COVID too? Then it ends up that some newspaper, remember I've talked in the past how even WWE, they have in the bag right now video packages, you know, talking about the life of Hulk Hogan and, you know, how tragic, you know, he died and this and that. Or they'll have this package made up for Gerald Briscoe or this. That's how it goes in the entertainment world, whether it's music, movies, politics, anybody in celebrity status. News organizations and entertainment companies pre-record a lot of the tributes for people, and they do it before the person dies. This way, when the person, look, when Ruth Bader Ginsburg, even though I know a lot of you out there really never paid attention to the Supreme Court, but 5 minutes after she died, there's these unbelievable tributes on TV, you know, with all these, I'm like, how, then you realize they had 90% of that already recorded. This way, the day that she dies, all we got to do is just update the end, put a graphic on the screen, you know, and that's it. So yesterday, I'm scrolling around social media just to see what's going on, and I check, you know, like my name and hashtag, see who I could block, you know, trying to force certain things that aren't happening. And I see the Mike Pence stuff trending. Long story short, it ends up that some news organization reported that Mike Pence caught COVID. And he's the 21st person in the cabinet to get COVID, this and that. I'm like, unbelievable. Like, and it ends up, the whole story was fake. And they wrote it just in case he caught COVID. They wrote it in advance, just in case he caught COVID. What I don't understand, whether it's the Kyrie Sane stuff or this, like, how does this get posted? I don't get it. I mean, it's not like you have to do all this unbelievable research and this and that, and maybe you look up something wrong and it's something from you. How do you make a mistake with something like this? I don't get it. I saw it. Shout out to Sam. Shout out to Sam. From Toronto, by the way. I like Toronto. Always wanted to go there. But I don't get it. I mean, even with the Kyrie Sane stuff, I'm reading it, and like my first instinct is, I should be mad at this woman. Say it nicely. Like, fuck you. The United States is the greatest country in the world. You know? All right, you're homesick? Okay, say you're homesick. Not that it was brutal. And then I'm reading it, and then I'm like, you know, but you know what? She's such a good person, this and that. And I'm like, I can't get mad at her. Then you find out that it's bullshit. How do you make mistakes like that? I don't get it. I hate these websites. I hate them. Psycho Jet Black says Ginsburg chose not to retire when Obama was president. She wanted to have Clinton sworn in as first female president. Look how that worked out for her. Look, it is what it is, man. You know, there's stuff coming out now that Hillary might have been behind the whole Russia investigation for Trump. You know, this goes back to what I said, even with it all comes together. The Velveteen Dream stuff. I'm not talking about it tonight. Monday, I'll talk about it with Mish. I want to get some more info together. But that woman that Matt Riddle had the affair with, she did a press conference today that she's suing Matt Riddle. She's suing Gabe Sapolsky. No, I show some respect to him now. She's suing WWE. She's suing Evolve, even though it doesn't exist anymore. It's a whole mess. But the thing that's interesting about it is WWE was never served with papers. And a lot of the timeline doesn't make sense. And people are starting to think that she over-exaggerated stuff to try to make her case stronger. And this goes back to what I said about Velveteen Dream and others. You know, when you have to pad the truth and you feel consciously or subconsciously that what you're saying is not strong enough on its own merits, that's where you lose credibility. Those people accusing Velveteen Dream, like I said, could have very well happened. There was no reason for them to lie, that night and say investigators have been contacted, police have been contacted, we're going to the precinct now, Why do that? Let it stick on its own merits. Guy sent you an unsolicited pic, say it nicely, all these things. If Hillary was so strong to be president, why do things to lose your credibility? That's why, like I say, man, even with me, and I'm not trying to compare myself to all of them out there, but I've said this about 1,000 times in the past. You could call me a jerk, you could call me a jackass, you could call me a wise ass, you could call me a scumbag, call me whatever you want. The only thing you can never call me, and notice, none of the haters and no one out there has ever says DT's a liar. Think about that. Because I'd rather be a little bit less popular. I'd rather be a little bit less attention. But I know that, I'm true to what I say and what I tell all of you out there. Even with this stuff, with sticking up for Braun Strowman with the B12 and everything. By the way, it's supposed to be refrigerated. And just so you know, what I did, because I didn't want to get up while we were doing the show and put the B12 away, the Braun Strowman shot, I have these sweet potatoes in my freezer for about 1.5 years now, and I don't eat sweet potatoes anymore because of my diet. So I have it sitting on some frozen potatoes so they stay cold. So I'm going to put them away in a couple of minutes. So anyway, ridiculous. How do you make that a mistake on a story like that for Kyrie? I don't get that. I just don't get it. Just doesn't make sense. Would have been a great story, though. So anyway, getting back to SmackDown, you have Big E get the win on Sheamus. Very, very physical. Went quite a bit of time. A lot of fun, but it feels like the end of a storyline or end of a feud that maybe shouldn't have ended yet. That match ends. Kayla Braxton interviews him, and then we get the return of Kofi and Xavier Woods. And Big E, it was interesting. If you look at his facial reactions, that's why I have a feeling they may have known earlier that they were switching, they were going to be split up. Because even when they were saying what they were saying, it's not like Big E was not showing attention. He was going along with it as well. But Big E, you could see like he wasn't as into it. And I have a feeling that maybe some emotion really got in the way. Michael Gonzalez says, what are my thoughts on Rollins taking the briefcase from Otis, turns face when he comes back from his time off, cashes in. Wait, who taking time off? I don't understand what you're saying. You're saying when he comes back from his time off, cashes in on Roman. Whose time off? Rollins is not injured. Otis is not injured. I mean, I don't get that. I don't know what you mean. Do I think a face Rollins versus a heel Roman would be good? Oh, okay, all right. Becky Lynch's pregnancy. Okay. You know what? It's interesting. That's okay. I see what you're saying. All right, that's interesting because Seth Rollins obviously is going to be showered with love and congratulations, and deservingly so. But the thing is, and this is the only reason why I say no, what you're saying, is because Seth Rollins is keeping his relationship like off TV. It's obviously not just his decision. It's WWE creative. But even online, like he doesn't get into it, anywhere as much as I think people want him to, because people always enjoy a little bit more reality than, as far as real life stuff. So I don't think Seth Rollins would open up like that where it would carry over on TV. Even when we first got word that she was pregnant, When Becky Lynch announced her pregnancy, if you remember, Seth Rollins was coming out there stoic. Remember, he would come out on TV and he'd have no emotion, this and that. So they didn't try to push the baby face then, too. So I don't know. It's not a bad idea. I think the money is Big E and Roman Reigns. I think that is a possibility. But look, again, it's wrong for us to talk about those ideas right now when we still have more than half the draft to go. So we got to see who gets drafted to SmackDown. Once we know the rosters, then we could say, okay, I could see Roman going with this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy. So let's wait. I'm sure, look, Monday is going to be 72, less than 72 hours from now. Mish and I will be up here, and we'll be doing a recap of the draft in Raw, and I'm sure we're going to talk about a lot of the scenarios you're talking about right now. It's not a bad idea. Yeah, and one thing is for certain, Nunu, Del Rio gets drafted to jail. Absolutely. I mean, that guy's doing some time. He's definitely doing some time. So anyway, as I said earlier, Big E looked a little bit off when Kofi and Xavier returned. Let's also remember, I mean, they've been doing a podcast together. It's not like they haven't seen each other for a while. But Xavier immediately reveals that they want to go for what they're missing is their tag titles. And later on in the night, Stephanie announces we're getting a tag title match tonight. And my immediate reaction was, I'm glad to see them back. But, man, I mean, if they put the belts on them, it's pretty much what I've been saying for a while now, that, when the tag team is in some doldrums, we'll just put them on New Day or Usos, and life is good again. And it gets a little bit played out. It gets a little bit played out, but, we'll see. Find out soon enough. Jay Uso hits the ring, cutting a promo, demands Roman Reigns to come out. And instead, Paul Heyman interrupts him. And Roman Reigns, I typed it as fast as I could. It was just, what he said was perfect. He said, your uncle used to say, believe nothing what you hear and only half of what you see. But what you just saw, and it was just what Roman did to him, you can believe that. Get it? Believe that. I tried to help you. I tried to make your life better. I love you. All you had to do is acknowledge me as your tribal chief. So we find out that the stipulation, big stipulation, at Hell in a Cell is an I Quit match. It's an I Quit match. So it was an awesome segment. At first I was like, okay, I Quit match is a little bit of a disappointment. But obviously Jimmy cannot save Jay this time, because it's in a cell. You could see Jimmy probably will be begging Jay, just say I quit, just say I quit, just say I quit. And it's going to tell a really good story. Look, once again, the only dilemma WWE has a problem with is we know Roman Reigns is retaining. It's not even a question. It's just a matter of how it gets to the finish of the match. And if fans don't mind that, then good. But I think fans normally prefer to not, know who's going to win, or they like that suspension of disbelief, saying, because you'd be surprised, for the last two pay-per-views, a lot of you out there thought Randy Orton was winning. Now, luckily, and I've bragged, I know, I'm 41-2 over the last 43 pay-per-view matches. And I've said in every match that McIntyre's had with Orton on pay-per-view, I said McIntyre's going to retain. But now I'm getting a little bit concerned of Randy Orton possibly winning and Drew McIntyre being your COVID champion. When we look back on it, he will never have been able to defend that belt in front of a substantial live wrestling fan audience. But there's no reason why Drew McIntyre cannot regain that title in 2021. And as I say this, it is exactly 12 midnight right now. And what school do you go to? Good friend of the family. To celebrate 10, 10, 10. They're coming! They're coming! 10, 10, 10. And he gave $10 too. I'll return that favor, my friend. Anybody remember the TNA storyline? 10. Yeah, you know, I've been saying that, Lone Wolf. I call Drew the COVID champion. I know it's not like the coolest catchphrase, but I think we're going to look back on it and say that Drew McIntyre is the COVID champion. He was the champion during the COVID era. Like, people will say, like, Diesel was the champion during the cartoon era, or this one was champion during this era. I think Drew will be your COVID champion. But remember that 10, 10, 10. What school is it? Return the favor. Free? Yeah, school. You know how to DM me. You know where to reach me. The channels. DM me. And I'll hook you up for sure. But no, it's not Sean Spears. Oh, my God. School. Everyone out there, too. If you go back 10 years with TNA, man, I should have been prepared with photos. Oh, my God, I should have been prepared with photos. Maybe I could pull up one really, really quickly. Let me see if I can find it. TNA 10, 10, 10. Oh, man. No, I can't. Oh, shit. The best part about that, I'm looking, trying to see if I can find it. All right. You know what? I have it on my other computer. Let me just spell this out. And I know my older episodes are not online right now because I'm switching to other servers and going to be transferring all the files. It's not very easy when you have that many shows in the bag. I got thousands, but they were hyping up, Dixie Carter and TNA were hyping up a major surprise. It was 10, 10, 10, Bound for Glory. And when the pay-per-view ended, and I still have the file. I'm going to post it because I put a speak and spell. Anybody remember when you were kids, the speak and spell? You type in the words and it actually speaks them. Jeff Hardy, Abyss, Jeff Jarrett. Who else was in the ring? It was Jeff Hardy, Abyss, Jeff Jarrett, and someone else. Like, they turned. And, you know, the thing was, they're coming. They're coming. They're coming. And then they hear. They turned. And then some fan in the crowd, Sting was in the ring too. Yes, they tried to make Sting heel also. Was Hogan and Bischoff in there? I don't remember Hogan and Bischoff. No. I don't remember Bischoff at all. I would have had a field day with Hogan and Bischoff. I know it was those four. But anyway, a fan at ringside had a sign that said, "They're here." Like, they're here. And there is Psycho saying, yes, Hogan and Bischoff were in the ring? They were posing with that photo? Oh, are you forcing me to look for this photo right now? I don't think I have it in this computer. I'm going to check one more time. I'm going to look really, really quick because it'll only take me a couple of seconds. But let's see. They're here. TNA. Let's see. Oh, I got it. All right, I got it. No. See, I knew I was right. All right, hold on. Let me just transfer it. Okay. This is worth it, everyone. This is worth it, I promise you. Oh, no. Don't give me this freaking web page thing. Save image as. Why is it giving me a web page thing? Oh, come on. All right, let me do it this way over here. Yeah, this is even better. Okay, here we go. Save image. There we go. All right, there we go. Well, let's put it on the desktop because it's easy to pull. Okay, this will take me about 10 seconds. Here we go. They turn heel. They're in the middle of the ring, and there's a fan at ringside. Now, remember, the hype leading up to this is they're coming. They're coming. And when I used to do my shows at that time, I used to make fun of it. I'd be like, they're coming. Because the whole thing seemed like stupid and goofy. So anyway, Bound for Glory goes off the air. It's 10, 10, 10. You have the reveal. You have Abyss, Jeff Hardy, Jeff Jarrett. We got heel turns and all this other nonsense. And they're no longer coming. They're here. So if you know anything about grammar, when you say they're coming, there is spelled THEY''RE, which is the abbreviation of they are. They're coming. They are coming. So now they're here. They are here. THEY''RE. So just thinking about the, I would have loved Meltzer to give us the demographics for TNA at that time. Not only would I want to know the 18 to 24 and the 12 to 18 and the 18 to 52, I would want the mentally retarded demographic or the uneducated, the people who never graduated K to 8. Seriously, instead of 18 to 24, give me the ones who didn't graduate from K to 8 because they decide to come out with this freaking sign. They take it from the crowd, they go in the middle of the ring, and they're all smiling. They're here. They're here. It's not even spelled right. And they're standing in the middle of the ring, going off the air, and they're laughing at a sign. And I'm like, you guys are more brain dead than a peer. Jeff, have another toke. Seriously. They're here. They're here. That was horrendous. I remember taking the speaking spell. I took the speaking spell and I put it right underneath and I typed in, they're here. That's like the quintessential example of 10, 10, 10. I got to give credit to school for doing that. It was right at exactly midnight, the 10-year anniversary of 10, 10, 10. They're coming. They're coming. Oh, my God. So, shout out to Psycho Jet Black. We talked about Ruth Bader Ginsburg. I answered this question before. And Jay Carlos says, pro wrestling doesn't need Alberto's representation. Oh, yeah, no. Alberto is done. He's history. And it's a shame. It's a shame. It's an absolute shame. Psycho Jet Black said AEW's Cody is more over than Jeff. I got news for you, man. I remember Jeff in Memphis. Wasn't that bad. Really was not that bad. I remember him USWA. I think it was USWA. Oh, and by the way, shout out. I can't remember who it was the other day. When we were talking about 30 years of Jericho, just show you how some people that enjoy the shows go way back with me. I used to take calls. I am going to be taking calls very, very shortly, I promise you. Just got to get a little bit more logistics together. So, we run it professionally in the right way. It's not easy when I'm doing everything myself. I used to take calls. And somebody called in, it's got to be about 14 years ago, talking about Jericho. And I think the call had to do with who I thought had a better career at that point, Rob Van Dam or Chris Jericho. And I had said Chris Jericho, and, I talked about being a fan of his, going back to, like right at the beginning of his career. And this person was on the phone telling me that, he enjoyed Jericho all the way back to the 80s. And I thought it was hilarious because I was like, Jericho didn't wrestle in the 80s. This guy actually thought that Jericho wrestled in it. And this guy's trying to convince me that no, Jericho wrestled in the 80s. I mean, yeah, and he was the undercard for Hulkamania. What the fuck are you talking about? It was just so fun. It wasn't funny, but it was funny because this person was like, thought he was a scholar. He probably wrote this sign. They're coming. Yeah, guy swore. Yeah, Benjamin remembers. That's how far back. This is like 15 years ago, that call. That just shows you when someone remembers when you call in with something stupid like that, that should tell you like how ignorant that is. Seriously, that's like the equivalent. That call is the equivalent of this. Look at Abyss's face. I mean, they're getting heel heat. And they're all like smiling and laughing like, oh, they're probably saying to themselves, wow, the fans are really shitting on us. Oh, man, we're doing our job. But meanwhile, all the educated folk at home that didn't even buy the pay-per-view, we watched on a legal stream because we weren't going to put money in your fucking pockets at that time. you freaks. We were looking at them like, do you realize how stupid you look? I mean, look at the guy's face up close. Look at Abyss's face up close. I love Abyss, and it pisses me off that they didn't do more with Joseph Parks and AJ Styles on SmackDown. Now everything is getting in disarray. Where does this leave Joseph Parks since AJ is on Raw again? They're like, wait, you people are so stupid, man. You bring that sign in the ring. Goofs. 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 So, we got the I Quit match at Hell in a Cell. Next match we had Matt Riddle and Jeff Hardy beating Miz and Morrison. I was very curious to see what was going to happen in this match because of the announcement of the lawsuit of Matt Riddle being sued. Like I said, we will talk about it on Monday. Yeah, 10 years already. Believe that? 10 is 10 years ago. We're soon going to be the 10-year anniversary when Bully Ray was this close to wanting to beat the living crap out of me, inviting me to Florida to beat me up, put me in the middle of the ring and confront me. So then Tito Ortiz came out to absolute gas. Seriously, I swear to God, I thought I heard somebody fart in section 511. Tito Ortiz came out. Look, it's Tito Ortiz. Oh, my God, Tito Ortiz. And I'm telling you, I heard someone on the roller coaster ride down the block. I hear Don West go, it's Tito Ortiz. Like somebody farted. That's how dead the crowd was. It was such a letdown, man. That in itself was ridiculous. I mean, there's no issue now with Bully Ray. Everything is cool in the gang. I don't talk to him or anything, but everything's cool in the gang. I'm not blocked or anything. Isn't that weird, man? For such an asshole, like 95% of everybody who used to block me no longer has me blocked. But yet other people out there who are like, you know, they're supposed to be the nicest people in the world, they claim, oh, it's no big deal. This person blocked me. I don't really care. And they'll just tweet about it. Every week they'll make an excuse to tweet about it. It triggers them. Oh, my God, it triggers them. And we're not even talking about 16-year-olds here. We're talking about grown-ass people getting triggered because someone that doesn't know them blocked them. God. Anyway, I was curious to see what was going to happen in this match because of what we heard earlier. But Matt Riddle and Jeff Hardy get the win. The burial of Morrison continues. I don't know. Maybe his wife said some derogatory things in an interview that we don't know about. I don't understand why they're using Morrison like this. The guy is freaking still phenomenal. It just blows me away. Out of everybody on the roster, you know, I'm frustrated about Mickie James and others too. But out of everyone on the roster, I think I can honestly say the use of Morrison for the last couple of months, and look, he may be having the time of his life. Doing some of these Gaga matches, quick matches, paydays, like, you know, I think he may be just like, look, man, it's a job. I'm having fun. I'm, you know, with my friend and we're doing good and pay. You know, this people interpret this in so many different ways. You almost feel like Morrison is having a time of his life. I don't know. But, yeah, I'm as a wrestling fan, I'm not happy with how they're using Morrison. Really not happy at all. But after the match is over, Lars comes out and just beats the crap out of everyone. He looks thicker. He got a little bit wider. And I'm not saying fat. I'm just saying he looks bigger than he was before. And I'm not going to repeat my rant from earlier. You know, nothing personal. For anybody that's still watching that may be involved or maybe have been guilty of doing what I said earlier, nothing personal from my end. But, man, you know, you show a little compassion sometimes. You know, we live in a country where people have the opportunity to redeem themselves. I mean, you're just standing there waiting with an ice pick, waiting to just rip the guy's heart out again. I mean, you know, how many fucking... I'm not saying the guy is suicidal or anything. How many people have to fucking, you know, fall into, like, massive holes of depression? You know, because people just throwing daggers and just throwing so many, you know, bullets at them. You know, just throwing shade. Like, how do you just sit there like he returns and the first thing out of your mouth is, let me remind everyone what this guy said many, many years ago. That, like, you know, you have no fucking balls to even reveal your face. You hide behind a website name. You hide behind a podcast name. You hide behind 20-year-old pictures or baby pictures or no pictures at all. You get no respect. So he returns. Good for him. I hope he fucking becomes heavyweight champion. Seriously. I hope he does. But you know what? If he does, I hope it's because he's entertaining us. But and at the same time, I hope he has truly changed. I hope that he has learned. I hope that he has grown. And I hope he entertains the fuck out of us. Because all we want to do is be entertained. Seriously. Whether you're tuning into this show or watching Raw or SmackDown, AEW, NXT, NWA, MLW, Ring of Honor, no more Evolve, but you just want to be entertained, you know? So, I don't know. But he's back, and Stephanie announces that he'll be part of the draft on Monday. It would be funny if he ends up being one of the names that are not drafted. After all of this, you know, you would think that somebody would want to pick him up quickly. But I hope Raw Underground returns Monday. And I hope he's part of it. I've been wanting to see Lars and Raw Underground for a while now. I think that a guy actually could tear it up over there. By the way, you know, when you look back at Monday, you know, there's a couple of names on here that are interesting. Dabba-Kato is on this list. Arturo Ruas is on this list. Retribution, obviously, as the 5. But just think about that for a minute. I just thought about this now. In storyline, why would Retribution agree to be drafted? You know what I mean? Like, they're not going to SmackDown. We've already talked about that. Like I said, the only time they'll ever appear on SmackDown again, even if it's for 1 week only, is if all remnants of the Antifa similarities is gone. 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 And I don't know if that's the case at this point. But, you know, how stupid is that going to look that Raw drafts Retribution? If I was writing the storyline, I would not draft Retribution. But just picture this on Monday, if this happens. Stephanie is behind the podium, and she's like, Raw's next pick. They're controversial. They're on demand. They want to ruin the WWE. Retribution. That's almost as bad as they're here. I can't, you know, the more I think about that, that's probably going to be the lead-in for Monday's show. Just think about that for a minute. No, what is Stephanie going to say? What is she going to say? Is she going to refuse to say it? Like, how ridiculously stupid is that going to sound? Retribution! Anyway, Dominic and Ray just happened to be on SmackDown, by the way, as Seth Rollins. Isn't it weird that wrestlers, I just realized this, always trying to think outside of the box. Did we have any wrestlers there tonight that were Raw stars that didn't get drafted? Think about that for a minute. Anybody? Did we see any Raw stars tonight that were not drafted to SmackDown? Did we see, isn't it weird that Seth just happened to be there? Isn't it weird that Ray and Dominic just happened to be there? Did we have any Raw stars that were there tonight but didn't get drafted to SmackDown? James is saying, see, this is why I truly believe the Donzilla Army is 10 times more intelligent than any other podcaster out there. Did you see anybody tonight online saying, didn't notice, why, how come only the ones who were drafted, just coincidentally happened to be there? How come Aaliyah wasn't there? How come the potted plant wasn't there? Think about that for a minute. I mean, I understand WWE sometimes is written for, the ultimate simpleton. The ultimate simpleton. But I don't recall that. Isn't that weird? Only the Raw stars who were drafted to SmackDown just happened to be there. Nobody in the back having coffee. Nobody in catering. R-Truth, nowhere to be found. Is that sloppy booking? Is that sloppy creative? Yeah, little Jimmy wasn't there either. I think that's a little sloppy creative. So, Benjamin says Aaliyah and Angie aren't wrestlers. Exactly. So they got drafted, obviously. Bayley versus Sasha Banks. It was exactly what we all said it was going to be last week. 2-minute clusterfuck. Bayley gets herself disqualified. Sasha beats the balls off of Bayley. Sasha challenges her to a Hell in a Cell match, and that is going down. That's why people last week, I did the impersonation earlier, people that last week that were outraged, angered that VTV. Do you understand how storylines of work and matches end up in bullshit to lead to pay-per-views? That's why it happens. So it was, maybe some people are disappointed tonight on the level of the match, but, it did what it had to do. Right now, the only thing that could solve what's going on is the cell. And the weird thing about it is the cell should be the finish of this. And their feud may not be over with. That's why, who knows? Maybe Bayley does get drafted to Raw. And that creates the little dilemma that after the Hell in the Cell is over with, they're going to be on different brands. So I don't know. We'll see on Monday. It almost makes sense if you think about it. When SmackDown makes their first pick should be Bayley. Why would you want to lose your women's champion? Bayley should be the first pick. So we'll see. New Day win the tag titles against Cesaro and Nakamura. We already talked about it. It was a fun match, but the big story out of this match, and this was also designed to take the attention off of Cesaro and Nakamura almost immediately. They have the tag titles, and it was an afterthought because immediately after, Kofi and Xavier are drafted to Raw. And you hear Xavier Woods saying, say Big E's name. Say Big E's name. And Stephanie announces that Big E was drafted to SmackDown. Now, the only thing that's weird about it is the draft picks were already done. So it's not a storyline like, okay, they just won the belts, now Raw wants them. Their picks were already made. So again, in suspension of disbelief, when you see who was picked before the New Day on Raw, it just shows you how, shoddy the drafts actually usually are. But, yeah, I agree, Benjamin. Sasha and Bianca could have some fun interactions, but that's not happening. So, not yet. And Sasha looks like she's going to be turning babyface. If Bianca Belair becomes the conceited heel, that could happen. But I'm almost thinking Bianca versus Bayley might be the first way they go. So we'll see. So the New Day are in the ring, very visibly upset that they are officially splitting up. Again, 6 months from now, they could be back together. And there's still the New Day. Just because one is on a different brand doesn't mean, you know what I mean? It's not like they're going to a different country. It's not as big of a deal as you think. And again, notice how Big E wasn't celebrating as a tag team champion also. All their title reigns were the three of them. Why tonight would Big E not celebrate as being one of the tag champs? Again, I'm just bringing that point out. So again, New Day is only one reign behind the Dudleys as the most number of tag team reigns in the WWE. And then we get the main event, Kevin Owens versus The Fiend. And look, I'm curious to see what they do with Kevin Owens. You've already heard some of my ideas. You know, we had a backstage segment where Alexa Bliss tells Kevin Owens, let him in. Kevin Owens has the match with The Fiend, and, you know, Kevin Owens is hitting him with everything, and The Fiend keeps getting up, and I'm thinking to myself, you know, my God, you know, he couldn't do that with Goldberg. But Kevin Owens has no answer for The Fiend. And, you know, we don't have any interference. We don't have any distractions. You know, they work well together. Fiend and Kevin Owens work pretty good together. You had Kevin Owens, he gets hit with the mandible claw. Kevin Owens hits the stunner, but The Fiend doesn't break the mandible claw. So ultimately, Kevin Owens, his shoulders hit the mat, and he is incapacitated because of the mandible claw, and Bray Wyatt pins him. 1, 2, 3. After the match is over, the lights go out, and then they go back on, and Bray Wyatt, The Fiend, is up the rampway, and as is Alexa Bliss. Alexa Bliss is just looking at The Fiend. Fiend's just looking at her. Anybody out there thought that they were going to kiss? It would have looked pretty weird since The Fiend is wearing a rubber mask. I mean, if you look at the rubber mask, there's like only a little tiny hole for him to breathe. I mean, if you want to even slip the tongue, there's like no room. He'd be like this. You know, they're like, what are you going to do? You're going to kiss? It's a rubber mask. But I'm curious. Anybody? Yeah, a few people are admitting. I thought they were going to kiss. Seriously, I'm looking at that, and The Fiend's just looking at her, and all I kept admiring was, wow, that's a pretty cool earring that Bray Wyatt has on right now. And then I was like, maybe they're going to kiss. And then I thought, I'm like, wait, but if they kiss, like, he's like, these are plastic lips. Like, you can't even, like, it's like, it's a mask. It's a mask. I mean, what do you do? I mean, when you kiss, like, you get passionate, you put pressure on your lips. I mean, I'm not going to start kissing here, but what are you going to do? You can't even feel it. It's the rubber that she's tying. Plus, that's sweaty latex. I mean, just think about it. Sweaty latex? Kiss the mask. You know? Oh, man. But I thought something was up. They're just looking at each other. So, but I will say this, seriously, and I'm not trying to start anything with other podcasters or other websites out there. But as I'm watching this match tonight, and as I watched the segment on Monday and last week as well, all I kept thinking about was all of those people that told you for the last 6 weeks that The Fiend was the top babyface now on SmackDown. I mean, you had people, I'm sure they all deleted their tweets by now and Facebook posts, but you had people that kept writing over and over again how he was the number one babyface. And I'm watching like the last month and I'm saying to myself, I'm sorry. I mean, I know he had the thing with Braun Strowman with the ambulance and he went splat and all that, but, you know, he went splat. So just because you have sympathy for The Fiend going splat and then the ambulance turns red, where does that, like, babyface, look, babyface. No, it was just the ambulance went red. Like, what are they talking about? Ben's like, well, he was more of a face. He was more of this. Yeah. What does that even mean? More of what? He hasn't done anything that would be babyface. When he does the Firefly Funhouse, and like he'll have the serious look, and he'll be like, you need to worry about him. Okay, bye. You know, that's the only hint of babyface. I mean, do people, I mean, if you want to mix the two together, I mean, it's like this. You got to worry about him. See, he's a babyface right now. Okay, bye. Oh, look, he's a babyface now. Yay, look, the puppets. Braun Strowman has repackaged himself. And he has repackaged himself with a little help of B12. But, no, but he's repackaged himself. I think Braun Strowman has cut the best promos of his career over the last couple of months. And he looks phenomenal. He's doing great in the ring. So I'm fine with it. Now, next week, we have Roman Reigns versus Braun. Curious to see where this goes. I mean, if Braun Strowman gets drafted to Raw, which I almost feel like he should, I mean, I'll put it this way. I can't see Fiend and Strowman staying on the same brand because there's so much unfinished business there. And the Alexa Bliss stuff, let's be honest, everyone. We all like Alexa Bliss's role right now. And I know some people out there are cute talking about how she don't wrestle all that much. Well, you get a bunch of concussions, and let's see you do it. You know, when you're out there, yeah, you know, she's got concussions. They have her in different roles. I have no problem with that. But the thing is that, you know, when Alexa Bliss had that whole storyline with Braun Strowman, I don't care about Alexa Bliss at all. There's got to be more than that. There's got to be more than that. So it just feels like, I mean, I think we all agree. Even when Braun made Bray go splat and the ambulance turned red, it feels like there's so much unfinished business with Alexa, Lexi, Nikki, where's Nikki? There's so much unfinished business with Alexa, Braun, and The Fiend or Bray that it almost feels like they got to go on separate brands. So if, I'll tell you, you know why I think The Fiend might be better on Raw, in my opinion? Because Roman has his stranglehold on the belt right now. Roman ain't going anywhere with that belt. The Fiend, if I recall, wasn't this his first match ever in the whole year on SmackDown, on Fox? First match. Think about that for a minute. It's first match. So why would you, in storyline, draft someone to... I mean, the Firefly Funhouse segments are great and everything, but if I was in storyline, the Fox War Room, I'd be like, motherfucker didn't wrestle once the whole year. Now he's wrestling because it's draft day? You know, so I think he might be better utilized on Raw. Oh, Mystery Man, I am still big into Bray Wyatt and The Fiend. I'm enjoying it. But I just think after Monday, in my opinion, Braun and Bray and Alexa, they have to be on separate brands. I would rather see Braun on Raw. This allows some Raw Underground. Could do some more stuff with David Kato. And, you know, but at the same time, I kind of think The Fiend might be better used on Raw. But then again, this is WWE's use of him as well. So if he's only going to wrestle once for the whole year on Fox, he might wrestle once for the whole year on Raw. So his use might not be any different on Raw. So that's why I think Braun to Raw would be better, in my opinion. So we will see. Ken's asking me, do I think JoJo is upset when if Bliss and Wyatt made up? No, I don't think so. What is she going to say? You know, plus it's a rubber mask. Seriously. I mean, Alexa Bliss is attracted to The Fiend, not Bray Wyatt. You understand? We've seen like some bad episodes. In fact, I'm sorry for being outdated, but it just so happened it was on TV 2 days ago. Any of you out there that used to watch Three's Company, all right, 2 days ago they happened to have the episode where Jack Tripper started wearing a mustache. He was going to wear a mustache, try to pick up women, because apparently guys with mustaches, you know, Sexy. So he starts wearing a mustache, and the blonde nurse, what's her name? Jackie? Or what was the blonde nurse in Three's Company? I always draw a blank with her name because she was my least favorite. I didn't like her at all. The chat's like 8 seconds behind, so if anybody in audio Terry, thank you, Terry. Nurse Terry. If you remember that episode, for anybody that watches it, when he had the mustache on, she thought he reminded her of an ex-boyfriend. So she suddenly became attracted to him. And he didn't understand why, but when he had the mustache on, she reminded him of an ex-boyfriend. So she became attracted. The minute he took the mustache off, she was like, ew, I don't want to be around you. So same thing with Alexa Bliss and The Fiend. Just Jack Tripper had the mustache, Bray Wyatt had the mask. You take the mask off, Alexa Bliss could be like, ew, ew, ew. How she says it, ew, ew, ew. But you put the latex on, now it's, I think Evil Uno somewhere is like, maybe I got a shot, She's into that latex. But seriously, that's pretty much what it is. So we're not going to see, for you said about JoJo, we're not going to see, I doubt, Bray Wyatt without the mask on playing tonsil hockey with Alexa Bliss. If it's a kiss, if they end up doing a kiss, you know what it's got to be like? It's got to be like a peck. It's got to be like a peck where the Fiend is just looking at Alexa and Alexa is looking at him and she just does one of these like, you know what I mean? Like just a little peck, because it's got to be quick enough where the latex doesn't start sinking in your head. You're like, she's kissing latex. He can't even feel it. It's rubber. It's rubber. Can you imagine what it smells like underneath that mask right now? So it's got to be like a quick peck where he just like gets like really taken back. Like, he just flips out. So we'll see. We'll see. Anyway, everyone, I'm going to jet out of here. We did 2.5 hours, a little longer than I expected, which kind of seems like a bad habit of mine, but had a great show. Sam says Janet was his favorite. Janet was cute. She had that pig nose, though. She's like, I'm Janet Wood. I never liked the pig nose. If she would have had a nose job, then it would have been a little bit better, so... But, no, Michael, they got to end a little earlier because I lose too much sleep and I got a significant other inside waiting for me to spend a little time with her. No, we're not doing any of the nasty tonight. Just going to watch some TV. And Mr. Furley was awesome. I mean, I loved Mr. Roper, too. I mean, he was great, but Mr. Furley was great, seriously. His mannerism... I mean, or when, or you just like be all macho, or you drink something and be like, smooth. Furley was awesome, man. If I was 70 years old and wearing like whacked out stuff like that, Mr. Furley was great, man. So anyway, everyone, I'm going to jet out of here. So if you enjoyed tonight's show, give it a thumbs up before you leave. And you'll be surprised how much that actually helps, me getting a little more exposure to other areas out there. If you haven't done so already, subscribe. Don't forget, if you'd like to be part of the Q&A, all you got to do is go to the thread on the channel and just post a question, whatever you want. Nothing pretty much is out of bounds. Like I said, I only say don't bring up other podcasters because I don't want to cause any controversy. I mean, it's too much good going on to have to get bogged down in stuff like that. So, but you can ask me anything. I usually don't get, dismayed by anybody out there, and never feel like you can't give me criticism. If there's something you truly don't like about the show, I mean, I had a few people 2 weeks ago that really, I mean, a lot of people laughed at it, but I had a few people that were really like, please, just stop doing it when I was saying Edge. When all the legends beat up Randy Orton, but Edge, for some reason, was home watching football. Like, why wasn't he there too? And I was going, Edge, Edge. It's like when Trump, like somebody said, I sound like how Trump would say it. Edge. And people really like, stop. Don't do that again. So I haven't done it. I listen to as much as I can out there. So your feedback is always welcomed, good or bad. But I hope you enjoyed the episode. Please, in the comment section, let me know what you thought about the draft tonight, what you think may happen on Monday. We'll definitely get into it. So I will be here Sunday night doing some Q&A. And Monday I'll be here with Mish doing Breakfast Soup Raw. And then I'll be on Patron Tuesday. And then I'll be back here Wednesday Night Dynamite. And then I'll be back here next Friday. So we'll have fun. I'm looking forward to it. So everyone, much love as always. Stay safe. Be well. And that's pretty much it. So good night, everyone. Have a great weekend. All the best. And thank you, as always, for the support. Much love, as always. So take care. Ciao, everybody.